what's your name? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, line fans discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors to make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get 100 off your entire building code CPPod at darkfusionsystems.com. The description of the podcast below. Let's go to our feature presentation. Thanks to our friends in Kingdom Collapse for bringing us a brand new band called Ravens Banquet to the podcast. We have Chase on the podcast with us. We found out all about who this band is, their story about playing at Rocklahoma in 2024, less than 2 years after the band's inception. And we dive a lot deeper into the things that have made this band the success that they have become over the past 2 years, how they're going to continue to grow off of that, and the principles that can be used for you and your band to succeed as well. You guys ready to discover a new band and discover more stuff about the music industry? Oh yeah, let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. If you've been a follower of the Chord Progression Podcast for any time throughout your history of life for the past 6 years, you know that there is one band that we have brought on more than any other band that's out there from San Antonio, and that is Kingdom Collapse. They were our second guest ever. Jonathan Orr's been our most, consistent guest ever. It's 6 times. So I love that band, and I'll do almost anything for that band. Recently, one of the members of that band, Aaron, reached out to me and said, hey, I'm managing a band. You want to go check them out, potentially bring them to the podcast? And I'm like, dude, it's got Kingdom Collapse written all over. Like, of course I'm going to want to go check it out. And I'm going to make sure you know about this band as well. A brand new band growing out of the San Antonio, Texas area. We're going to get you to know all about them and their hard rock styling right now. So please welcome Chase from the band Ravens Banquet to the podcast. So Chase, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Dude, thank you for having me, man. It's I was excited to get on this podcast and get to talk with you and, just talk about music and shit.
Someone was excited to talk to me? One sec.
Yeah.
Finally! Okay, back to it.
So, no, I was so we're from San Antonio. We've been going for about just over 2 years now, marking this past October. Originally, I know we were talking a little bit before about the band's history, and the band originally started with me and my brother and our lead guitar player, Johnny. And we were in a band called Quarantine for several years, like TEEN is like teenagers. And this was before COVID and everything. And so we were in a band called Quarantine, and originally I was just rhythm. Brandon was drum. Brandon's my brother, has always been drums. Johnny was always lead guitar. Went through 2 different singers. It just didn't work out. And it was then, okay, well, your turn, kid. Try and figure it out. See if you can sing. And so then I just started working on singing, did that for a few years. Band fell apart. We brought in Kaiser Stavanaugh. He's our bass player. We met him through Johnny. And it's pretty much everything has been just going since then. We formed the band and then formed it into Ravens Banquet. And we've had some just the pretty exciting past 2 years. I mean, you couldn't ask for it to go any better. I mean, you could, but for starting up again after everything, falls apart, and, we've had a lot of great opportunities. We've played Chocolate Fest down here twice. We've, done Fiesta, which is a very big thing down here. And then earlier this year, it was Rocklahoma. That was a very, very, very big accomplishment, and we were super excited to be out there. It was a lot of fun. I ended up running into Randy, I think I might be saying his name wrong, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God.
Yeah.
We were in the right after our set, we went to go eat in the
catering.
Yeah. We were eating catering. I couldn't think of the word. So we brought our friend from West Creek. His name's Eddie. And he was videographing for us during the whole event, because we were there from Friday till Sunday, the day we played. So we're in the backstage at the catering, and he's like, dude, hey, Randy's like right behind you. He's on your left. And I look to my left and I don't see anybody. And so I get my drink and I turn around and he's standing right in front of me. And I was like, I don't know a lot of Lamb of God, but I respect him, and I respect everything that he's done for the metal community, but I don't know any music, so I'm not going to be a poser and be like, I love your stuff. And, so I just give him like a little head nod of like, I recognize you. I think you're cool. And he gave me like this little stern look, like, what's this kid doing back here? And I thought it was really funny, because I was like, it was just really funny at the time because I even told everybody, and they're like, I don't think he gave you the look. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he did. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he looked at me and was like, why is this kid back here? What's he doing?
What you should know is after you did that, he gave you that stern look, like pull out your little credentials and be like, I played today. Like
I got
I played today, man.
Artist wristband. Hi, I just went on. So no,
hi,
but
I'm actually supposed to be back here. I just didn't want to be like, dude, I love your music because I just don't know enough of it, man. I'm sorry.
yeah. So, but it was a really cool experience, and it was really awesome to see everybody else in the band because our guitar player, he's into like a lot of Avenged Sevenfold, and his family, he grew up with Lamb of God and all that stuff, and Slipknot, and I think Clown was in the tent as well when we were eating, and so it was a lot of cool memories that I think everybody got to make, and it was just definitely one to remember. Definitely being the first big festival, major United States festival that we've played, and we're hoping to hopefully get on some more this year, and we're going to definitely apply for this upcoming year and get stuff started.
Well, I mean, get stuff started as fast as you can. And like the first question I was going to ask you was like, give me a rundown of the band, give me a history of the band. I didn't even have to ask that question. You're just like, I'm just going to give it to you straight up. Here we go. This is what we've done. We used to be quarantined, but that was before the pandemic, so no relation. And then we came back as Raven's Banquet, and now after like 2 years of it, we've already gone and traveled. We've already gone and toured. We've already played Rocklahoma. So 2 years. Yeah, you guys done a lot in 2 years. Holy shit.
Yeah, we definitely put in the work. So I mean, that's what happened. It helps that we don't have jobs. But we put in a lot of work. We definitely we have the opportunity to put in more work than most people are. And we were going just to prepare for Rocklahoma. We were doing 4 hours a day for like every day, like 5 days a week. We were going from like 10 to 2 every day, making sure that, and this is also with, recording new material and getting other stuff set up. And we spent a lot of time getting ready for that show, and it definitely paid off. The crowd loved us. It was a great crowd, great show. We got to hang out with people afterwards. It was such an awesome time, man.
Now, before jumping back into this insane Rocklahoma thing, because I do have a question I want to ask about it. It's great. Like when you guys said, yeah, we're able to do a lot of these things. We're able to, push harder on this just because you guys don't have full-time jobs or those other responsibilities. That is not a knock to other bands that are trying to grow and trying to make it, that also are making money in other ways, like having a full-time job or providing in different ways. The reason I say that is because, situations for people are different. And what you guys do with Raven's Banquet is you're taking the time that you have now and you're able to use it the most efficiently and maximize on it. So when it comes to preparing for Rocklahoma, practicing 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for multiple weeks, you have the ability to do that and the ability to continue to push forward on something you absolutely love and enjoy. So why not go that route if it's available to you? There are other bands out there that, they have other responsibilities. They have to provide for their families and they have full-time jobs. I'm not knocking them for that at all. What I'm saying though is you guys have this chance in front of you with this, just way the situation is. You're making the most of it, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, no, that was not a knock for anybody listening. That was not a knock at all, man. Like we're not, we recognize that we have a lot of time on our hands and we don't want to just waste it. We're not going to, especially when we got that, we weren't doing up until then, we weren't doing about 5 days a week. We were more working on just material writing and stuff. And then when we got the call that we were going to be doing it, that's when we really started putting in a lot more effort and getting into stuff and working at it as hard as we were working at it, working on stage, making sure everything was set up. So it's definitely not a knock because I know a lot of our friends that are in bands have jobs and we're just being as young as we are and having the opportunity to have, we just didn't want to waste that. We didn't want to have the question of, well, I could have done this or I could have done that or I should have been practicing more. We wanted to make sure all of our bases were covered before we went there. So that way it wasn't a regretful moment. It was we knew we went out there secured, knowing that we were ready to do it.
That takes some wisdom right there to realize the situation you're in and prevent yourselves from going later down the line and always questioning what if you would have put more work into this? What if you would have oh, I wish I would have put more time into the band. I wish I put more time into practicing to make this a thing. So whether, you become the biggest band in the world or you just become, the level of success that you want to achieve that makes you the most happy in life, or if other things in life, take their turn, you never know what way life's going to present to you. But at least when you're, old and hunched over, maybe you have to have a cane or a walker, and you're telling all the kids about how cool it was to be in a band at one point in time, at least you're going to be able to do so without having that question of what if in the back of your mind.
Yeah. So that's really why I do it. It's because, I want to push myself just to be better. And I know that the guys all push themselves to be better. And it was definitely a team effort. We pushed each other, I mean, you gotta, hey, so you're not playing it right, or, hey, you're not doing that exactly how we have to do it. So, but in the end, it did pay off. And I couldn't be any more thankful to being able to play that show and seeing the people that we did, being backstage, being able to mingle with people. And it was, it's definitely something that I will not take for granted ever.
Absolutely. Now I got to ask the question about Rocklahoma, because as a young band, and I always talk to not only some big bands on the podcast, but young bands as well. And there's bands that have been, on some of these large festivals too, younger ones. And I'm always curious to hear how this happened. So when it came to Rocklahoma 2024, what was the story like that got you on the lineup for that?
So what got us on the lineup is we were working with a friend of ours, John, who's also in West Creek. He's a guitar player. And John was helping to manage us at the time and helping us to kind of book shows. And he sent in a thing for them to see if we could get on the show, to the event. And at first, they actually said no. They actually said, well, you guys aren't just what we're looking for this year, but we, try again next year, but we appreciate you putting it in. And we said, thank you for, allowing us to even get on here to try. Then I remember we got an email back, I think maybe the same day or maybe the next day. And somebody emailed us back and was like, you guys use tracks, And we go, no, we don't use tracks. I mean, we use interludes between our songs, but we don't have anything running during our songs. And the guy goes, good, because I don't allow that shit on my stage. Don't say anything. I'll keep you posted. And so, so that was so we were left on like this cliffhanger of like, so are we in the festival? Are we not in the festival? And then in early April, I think it was just after like April 2nd or 3rd, which that week, April 1st is my birthday. So like April 2nd or 3rd, we got the email like, hey, here's all the information. Here's the flyer. Here's everything. Post it on this day. Start pushing it. So it was honestly, it was kind of a great birthday present. You know what I mean? To find that out during that week. So, but that was really funny the way that we got it.
Well, I'm glad they sent it on April 2nd and not on your birthday of April 1st, because you might have been like, is this for real? You guys are really fucking with us in the most sinister way right now.
Yeah, I would have been mad. I'd have been like, that's not funny. That's not a funny joke.
I mean, maybe later on in life, you'd be like, yeah, it was kind of funny, but no, that's definitely not something that you want to mess around with. But by them waiting till like April 2nd to send, it definitely stands out. But that is crazy where all of a sudden it's, you sent your stuff in, they said no, and then you got an email back pretty much, within the next 24 hours saying, hey, do you guys use tracks? And there's plenty of bands now that use tracks on their shows, especially a lot of the bigger ones as well. I'm not here to tell you if you're right or wrong for using tracks. I don't mind, as long as the live show is one of the best things you can put out there. That's what matters to me as a fan, especially going to see a live show. So that's where I'm coming from with that. But if all of a sudden it's like their best live shows without tracks, I understand the interludes in between songs, but all of a sudden you guys go out, play, have a great time, and they want you on the bill, best way to go about it. So for all the other young bands that are out there that are trying to get on these things, the best thing you can do is, put yourself out there and try and get those spots, whether it's just submitting an application, whether it's just putting your music out there, or just trying to get in touch with somebody. Because if you don't do that, the answer for sure is going to be no. It's a guaranteed no, because they don't even know who you are. They haven't heard of you. But if you put your application there, you put your music in their hands, maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. Most of the time, they're not going to go for it. but it just takes that one to get it going, that one opportunity. So you
Yeah.
never know who's going to say yes. It could be Rocklahoma. It could be something where you get on that whole entire Space Zebra thing and you end up getting a spot on a Danny Wimmer Presents Festival like Welcome to Rockville, Sonic Temple, Aftershock, Loud Life, Incarceration. You have no idea, but you're not going to get there if you don't put your music out there.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it, who you're going to meet. We learned, obviously, we've been doing this for, more years prior to Raven's Banquet. We've been doing this a long time. I've done it for about half my life now, probably 9 years now. And so, you learn a lot, even at a young age. You learn how this, the business works. And the business works is you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's going to be at what show. So you always put on the best performance possible. You always try and present yourself in the best light. You know what I mean? You don't just be like, and I see people sometimes in bands where, especially nowadays with social media, is they don't understand that whatever you post, whatever your social media is, that ties directly into your band, that ties directly into everything that you're working on. So if you start, maybe saying certain things on this, it's going to come back to you on your band page or your work page, whatever it is, So don't be like, like somebody who's like talking trash about other bands or, like, oh, this place sucks, this venue sucks. It's like, because then you're just not going to get invited back at all. Nobody's going to want to have you or even want to play with you or work with you because you have this negative attitude that you've set up that's everybody can see, so it's a fine line,
It's
it's a
definitely
fine line.
It's definitely a fine line between putting yourself out there and being yourself and knowing exactly what to say and when to say it. I do agree with you, especially when it comes to bands and what you're posting on social media. Yes, I want you to be yourself. Yes, I want to see your personality shine. I know you're gonna have issues with other bands as well. No band is perfect. No band has ever gotten along with every other band they played with. But if you start posting about that stuff where it's like, okay, this band did this band did that, you're probably not going to be a band that promoters are going to want to book, that other bands are going to want to play on shows with, much less go out on the road with. And if you end up bashing a venue it could be for justified reasons, it could be for unjustified reasons. But if you end up bashing a venue for some reason, the very likelihood that you're not going to be able to come back is pretty high. Of course, I will say this though, there are exceptions to the rule. There always are, but it's always best to err on the side of caution. When I say exceptions to the rule, because I'm wearing a good old, it's blocked by the mic, but a good old We Came as Romans shirt. Remember in 2023, they're playing a show in Rhode Island and they ended up canceling the show after the second band, after I think it was Body Snatcher was on, because security was throwing people out and like essentially harassing them on the street after they threw them out. Like for like moshing and crowd surfing, which they said was all right in front. So it's like, okay, now there was a whole issue that came up with that, but it's something where if it's just like, you got to take a look and say, okay, is it worth actually calling this out or not? Is this something that is actually a problem, or is this just like petty drama that could just fly under the rug or just like be, left in the past because it's not worth bringing up?
Yeah, no, in this game, it's you never know what you're going to get when you go to a venue unless you're like Metallica or one of these, really big name bands who have a whole setup. They know exactly how their show's going to go. But if you're, a touring band, like a smaller touring band or a local band, you never know what you're going to get one night, and so stuff is going to vary. You're going to have a great night. You might have an awful night, but you learn from it, you know how to get around it. And then you start working on, okay, I can better myself here. I know that this place sometimes does this, so I'll bring this equipment just to make sure that, the power doesn't go out or, faulty switches, whatever the case is. So I agree with you. There are exceptions where it's like, if the venue is, not doing good and is, messing over, your audience or you over some stuff, sometimes it's like, what, we have to cancel the show. The venue is not doing good. The venue is only allowing a certain amount of people in, and or whatever the case is. But me personally, I've never had an issue with a venue so bad where it's like we're gonna just say we're not playing with that venue anymore and talking about them. because it comes with the game.
Yeah.
You have to play the game, and it's just part of how you grow into it.
I mean, it's similar to a lot of people, especially that work in corporate America too. There's things you don't like about, the people that you are work above you, the people that are your managers, your bosses, the people that are, the executives. There's always times people complain about this stuff, and yeah, we can talk about, but all of a sudden you start posting that stuff and you start making it more of like a known thing, especially from yourself. Then who's necessarily going to want to work with you? Of course, we have to play those politics games. I don't like the fact that people have to play those politics games, but you have to know when to say stuff, when not to say stuff. And again, is it worth it? It's taking that time to take a step back and realize that things aren't perfect, especially in the music industry. Things aren't perfect. There's going to be problems that happen with recording music, with anything that you do, and you learn from them. And if you take it as a learning opportunity, the more likelihood that not only are you going to be able to go back and put on a better show or have a better experience, but you're going to be much more well-seasoned and someone that people are going to want to be able to go and see because they know the quality is going to be there every time you go up on stage.
Yeah, no, the quality of your music and the way you present yourself is everything. Quality, whether it's shooting a video for your a music video, or putting a post up on Instagram or Facebook. Quality is everything, and that's another thing that I think some people don't realize. And sometimes quality isn't everything. So it's kind of it's everything, but it's not everything. It's like the better the quality is, the more likely people are going to click on it, because that's just how we're hardwired, is if it's great, it's, people judge a book by its cover. They do, you're not supposed to, but we do. It's just how we are. And, so quality does matter in this industry. It does matter about how you present yourself, on stage, even with whatever the clothes you're wearing, what you're saying on the mic, how you talk to the audience. And, online, it's also everything about how good is the video quality? Are you making content that people are actually going to want to watch? Or are you just making stupid stuff? It's once again one of those little fine line things where it's like you still be yourself and still have fun and do all these things, but make sure that what you're doing is still looking nice and is something that people are going to want to look at. You know what I mean? Because you'll gain. I mean, you want to appease to an audience to an extent, because you still want to be yourself, but you still want to be able to have them come in and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a great band to kind of take a look at that I think definitely toes that line very well, that I've had in the podcast multiple times before, is a band, Avoid. They're especially the way they present themselves, the social content, it is ridiculous. It's high energy, manic, funny as all hell. But then you go see them live and it's that's the energy they bring on stage. They're bringing this absolute ridiculous fun party. And if you've never heard of them, you're going to leave that show remembering that you saw them and that they were one hell of a band to go and check out. And they're putting themselves out there as themselves, but it's also done in a way that is helpfully promoting the band and everything that is the band to a much larger audience and to the rock and metal community. It's not okay, we're putting crazy stuff up there because that's just what we're doing and it's just not hitting, but that's just who we are. No, it's if it's working and people are connecting to it, then yeah, you can absolutely lean into it. But if it's not working, then all of a sudden it's the quality of your music can be there. Quality is everything. It's this is how I think of it. Quality is everything. Just not all the time. Yeah. Because there are times where it's like you said, people do judge a book by its cover. They might see the name of your band and see a press photo and be like, oh, I'm not sure about that. That's just not for me. And they might not give you a shot because, it just didn't connect with them. But you could have the highest quality photo. It could be the best reputation of your band. People are just wired that way. People do judge a book by its cover. That's a phrase for a reason. It's a cliche phrase, but it's been a thing since well before the both you and I were even born.
Yeah, that is definitely true, man.
It is. Again, it's unfortunately true, but that's the truth we live in, and we have to live in the reality that is around us, not live in the fake reality that we want to create that we wish was real.
Yeah, no, it is reality, and the whole thing about being hyped on stage is that's another thing that I think people don't realize is I see a lot of bands and I'll go out and I'll go to shows and sometimes, you'll see a band and they'll go on and they'll have good music and they'll have music that actually sounds really nice. but then they're not moving on stage. They're not really interacting with the crowd. And it's like that will completely break a show. If you are not engaging with the people that are there to see you, if you're not putting on a show for them, like, they can listen. And something I've been told before, they can listen to your music online. They're not there to just listen to your music. They're there to see you perform. You're there to do a job, and your job is to perform for the audience and allow that, because they're paying to come see you. If I paid to go see somebody, or if I paid, to, like, if I went to go pay and see like Tool, and they didn't put on a performance, and they just, played on a stage, and there wasn't all the, the whole light show and everything. It's like, yeah, I can listen to the music and it's cool to see them, but it wasn't a great performance. So it's like, why would I want to go back and see them again? So performance does make up a majority of the show itself.
Again, like we said, like quality is everything, but it's not all the time. Like, the quality of your music might not necessarily hit on people, but the quality of your performance is going to be the reason why people come back and see you live time and time again. There have been bands that I have seen before, and, I've been around here quite a while, and I've seen, I don't know how many shows now. I mean, I try and keep track of it. I know I've lost count already. In the last 2 years, I've averaged over 50 shows in 2023 and 2024, and hoping for 2025 as well. There are plenty bands I've seen, and there are some bands I've seen once, and I'm like, I'm good with not seeing them again. And a lot of it is based off of maybe not the music, but just the live performance. There are some bands where it's like, is their music something I want to go and see listen to my free time? No, it isn't. But is their performance something I'm willing to go and pay and see because it absolutely creates an absolute incredible moment? Absolutely. Gwar is the perfect example of that, where their music quality wise for me, it's not there, but that's just my taste. Your taste could be different, but performance wise with everything they do on stage, whenever they come around Milwaukee, it's always in October. This past year in 2024, they were here on Halloween. I wanted to be in the crowd at that show because I knew what to expect. I knew it was going to be crazy. Even some of the smaller shows I go to, there's bands where it's like they're not as well known, but I go and see them time and time again because I know what kind of show to expect, and I know the positivity that brings from the energy, from the crowd reaction, every bit of it. And I want to be a part of that more than anything else during that day. And that's just causing repeat customers, repeat fans coming to your shows. And that's what helps it grow. Your analogy with Tool is perfect. If they didn't put on an absolute performance and were playing, 9-10 minute songs, unless you absolutely love the music and they were just up there playing it, you're probably going to go once and be like, I'm good. But if it's a full performance, you're willing to shell out big bucks to get that performance, get an updated performance, and feel that once again.
Yeah, no, I know when we saw them, I believe it was 2019. It may have been just before or just after COVID. I think it may have been just after COVID when we saw them. And we saw them at what's now known as the Frost Bank Center down here. And that was an incredible show by them. Like the whole, for anybody that's listening, if you've never seen Tool perform, like even if you're not a big fan of their music, you understand why their ticket prices are the way that they are. It is an incredible show. They have like the whole LCD screens, the animations, the 3D, like the weird art style. It's an amazing show. It really is. It's a great show. And and at the time I was super fanboying over them because they had finally put stuff out on like Spotify and I could actually listen to them. And because I was never able to listen to them beforehand because I hadn't seen any of their stuff online. At the time, I think they were only doing like, you had to actually have the physical CDs and albums to even listen to them other than listening to them on the radio. So, it was an amazing time. And I've seen several other shows like Iron Maiden, another great performance. Like you go there, we've seen them, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 different times. And every time it's great because Bruce Dickinson and everybody puts on a show. They have the planes, they got Eddie coming out on stage, the prop setups for the stage. It's 100% makes the entire difference. Great songs and a great show. It makes for memorable moments. It makes for people wanting to, like you said, come back to see that, just because the energy is there.
Yeah, and like from when we're recording this, a couple days later, I get to go down to Chicago, Illinois. I'm from Milwaukee, So it's like an hour and a half drive. I'm going down there specifically to see a small band called Belushi Speedball. Now they're not even headlining this show. They're just direct support, and their music is not something I'm necessarily into. They play more of like a thrash metal type style. They got a song literally called Ripping Off Municipal Waste because they made a song ripping off municipal waste. But my buddy was like, we went to Milwaukee Metal Fest last year, and he was so adamant about me seeing them with him. I'm like, okay, fine. This is like my 5th straight day of shows. I'm kind of tired and feeling beaten down right now, but okay, I'll go with you to make sure I see this. That was the most
real quick, and I'll just chug that bitch down.
Oh, dude, it was the most wild mosh pit I have ever been in, because before they started their show, the pit was littered with toilet paper, and they threw out 2 giant tote bins of loaded Nerf guns.
Oh my God.
I'm like, what is this? And it was absolutely a mess. It was insane. They even told us during one song we were going to play Nightcrawlers like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And it's somewhere it's like their music, it's not something I really listen to. It's not my style. But the fact that I found that they were going to be playing in Chicago at some lowly club that's going to not necessarily the best part of the city, but because I know what their show is like and I know how absolutely insane it is, I'm making sure I'm going to be there. I'm spending the money and the time to go and do this. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to the performance side of things, everybody. You can put on the best, but make sure the performance fits the music that you're doing and fits your style and fits your own personality, but make sure that it is absolutely engaging and elicit that utmost positive response from the people that you're playing for, because not only will that cause them to come back, but it will cause more people to be interested in going and seeing you live, whether they see your music as high quality or just kind of there. It's really hard to say no to a show that is absolutely bananas.
Yeah, no, it really it is hard to say no to that, you know. And I know for us is we do try and put on a great performance. Every time I'm out there, I'm always trying to put on a good performance and move around when I can. I also, what I like to do is I like to look at the set, and I also will add songs, you know. Most recently, at this past show we just did about a week and a half ago, maybe a week ago, we played Metalingus by Alter Bridge.
Ooh.
And we do that because Johnny is an amazing guitar player. It's like it really is like having a mini Mark Tremonti in your band, or John Petrucci, because that's what he grew up on. He grew up on John Petrucci and loves Dream Theater. It's one of his biggest, people that he looks up to. And so to have him be able to do what he's doing, and then for, everybody else to kind of follow in, Brandon able to play the drums, Kaiser able to play the bass, and I'm a very, very, very big Alter Bridge fan. I'm a very big Miles Kennedy fan. I think he is one of the best singers of just ever. I really do. I think he's one of the best rock singers of all time. And being able to sing some of his songs, because we've already done a song, we've already done One Day Remains, and we've covered that before. But we've got some stuff in the works that I can't necessarily say just yet. But we're going to be traveling here soon to Florida. I will say that much. We're going to be traveling to Florida soon, and we wanted to bring out a song, special for down there. And knowing that they're from down there and that's where they originated from, I was like, you know what? Let's try and up the ante. Let's go from One Day Remains. Let's do a harder one. Let's do Metalingus. And so we performed Metalingus, and like everybody in the crowd was like, "No way, you guys are going to do that song." And we performed the song, and everybody just loved it. They fell in love with the song as soon as they heard the opening guitar part.
Yeah,
they were just had them like that. Everybody was like focused on the band. Like, it was insane. It's moments like that is like the reasons that I put the guys to the test. And I'm like, you know what, we're going to cover this, because we're going to do a harder song that everybody's going to just get blown away at the fact that we've done it. And prior to even that, we did, oh goodness, I can't remember the exact song. We did a Dream Theater song. I can't remember the name of it, but we did. For those who understand, I extend my hand. Take Me As I Am, I think, is the name of the song. I might be wrong on the name of the song. But,
I'm going to take your word for it, man, because I don't know that much of Dream Theater's discography.
Neither do I. Neither do I. Johnny would know the exact name of that song, but But yeah, so we did that for like the first little bit of the band's existence, because we're still working on originals, and so we were just learning a few other kind of covers to do, and we also wanted to put on a good show and be like, okay, we wanted to get something that's going to grab people's attention on the first song. And so for several shows we opened up with that song, and everybody, then it gets the crowd engaged because they're like, whoa, they're doing this kind of music, they're able to pull this off. So I think there was maybe one time where like live, which is a slight little mix up on like maybe the drums during one of the parts of the songs, but it was, other than that, every time it was always fun to do. And I love the crowd's reaction when they hear that kind of stuff.
But you're using that to your advantage too, especially as a young band, because as a young band, of course, you want to play all your originals. You want to play all that stuff for people to get to know who you are and get to know the band. But at times, it's like when you play a cover, it has to be picked perfectly as something that's going to get more people into the show overall. And when it comes to you guys, if you want to show off that prowess of quality, going Dream Theater, going more Alter Bridge with that cover decision absolutely makes sense. And when you said Metalingus, I had a smile. I'm like, okay, is there some point in time where the crowd, there's going to be a pit that opens up and someone's just going to get speared in the middle of it, and we're going to, count 1, 2, 3 and hold up the WWE title for the Rated R Superstar, just having that play in the background, fully going into it. So I kind of hope that happens. So if you guys ever do that and make it up to Wisconsin and see me at the show, just give me a heads up that it's come beforehand so I can at least tell someone else that we're going to do this and have it all planned out. So at least at some point then we can figure it out. You guys will be playing. We'll have a title belt held up. Maybe we'll have a cash into the Money in the Bank briefcase. Who knows? But I mean, what a moment that would create for everyone around. It's like, yeah, we didn't know about this band beforehand. We liked their music. Then they covered Alter Bridge and some dude just won the WWE title in the middle of the floor.
Somebody won it in the pit. Yeah, now that I'll definitely, if we're up there, we're hoping to, travel a little bit more, and we're trying to book, like I said, we're trying to book more stuff over the next, year or two. I'll definitely give you a heads up, be like, hey, we're coming into town, we're playing this song.
Perfect. Maybe I have to go find the old 24/7 title from WWE just because it really would make sense. But then out of nowhere, after the song would be over, you'd see R-Truth come out of nowhere, pin me for the 1, 2, 3, and take the title for himself. Get his like 65th reign with the title. Me pulling out the randomness of that. But one thing I do want to get more people to know about is your music specifically. So when it comes to you guys creating the music that you have, the originals that you have, and the stuff that's coming up, what's the process like there? What are the influence behind that create the sound that you guys have created?
Yeah. So the process is it can vary with each song. There's some songs where you're like, you're on it and everybody kind of just comes together and it's like it just works perfectly. That maybe has happened once, because it does work, because everybody's like, oh, I want my part louder, or I want this part louder. So what it usually is one of us will get an idea, we'll start working on it for about a week or so, and we'll get it more put together, and then we let it sit, and then we forget about it for about a month and a half to 2 months. Then we come back and we look at it and we go, why didn't we finish this? And then we bring it back out, and then we finish it, and we make sure we have everything pretty much good to go. And then, we'll, pull it off live. So we've got several songs that, at least at this last show that we just did, we pulled out one of the songs that we're going to record next week, hopefully. And we pulled it out just to kind of, see how the crowd would react to it. And, because it's not on any recording yet, or it's not even recorded yet. So you can't even listen to it anywhere. So we went out and performed it, and everybody liked the song and was really interested in it. So I was like, okay, that's a good reaction. It means that the song, the way it sounds, is sounding good. Maybe a little bit of tweaking here and there before we go into the recording studio, but that's basically how it most of the time goes.
Yeah, it's like you got that soft opening for a brand new track as well. But I like what you said about that too, not only from the creation process, but also when it comes to being able to potentially play these songs live and before you record them, to get an idea of how the song is working. It's kind of like a comedian going out there on the road and trying out different bits where it goes to every different town, and it's like the bit might have the core behind it, but as time goes on, it's going to get tweaked, it's going to get changed because of how the audience reacts to it. And it could be a great song overall, but if there's a piece that's just missing that connection, the audience is going to pick up on it, and you're going to be able to see that reaction in real time, especially up on stage. So from a recording standpoint, okay, this piece here just kind of killed the flow of the song for the fans. Why might that be? But also, what can we do to maybe change that up so it doesn't compromise the integrity of the song, but it fits? You're giving yourself that chance to actually look at these things before they come into fruition, before you actually put, I was going to say pen to paper, but more it's like track into computer and make this a full thing. So it's, you could always change up a little bit of the live set to make the song a little different. But then at that point in time, it's like the song has to sound in a specific manner to be solidified, because on the recording, that's what people are expecting.
Yeah. That's another thing that I definitely pride ourselves on. I know we were talking earlier about using tracks, and
yeah.
I don't diss anybody using tracks. Me personally, we've had issues even just trying to run interludes. So for me, trying to maybe run like harmonies or any of this other stuff using the computer is too much of a risk for me to really want to take right now. I think I'd probably be more open to it if I had a system that it's like I know works most of the time. But for me, I think that's what I definitely pride myself on, and I pride the band on, is we try and perform everything exactly or close to exactly what you hear on the recordings.
Yeah.
There may be times where it's like you cut out just a little bit of one thing or a little bit of another, but I pride us on trying to put on the exact same music, but also being able to apply the showmanship on top of it, so that you're not only feeling the music the way you normally hear it, but then you're feeling it from the energy being brought to you from the stage.
Absolutely.
That's not dissing anybody that has tracks, by the way. That's not dissing anybody that has to use tracks or has to use any of that stuff. If that makes your performance even better, and I've seen it does with certain bands and certain certain people, it does make their show even better. And if it does, awesome. You know what I mean? And it's great that you can have it all working perfectly. It really is. First, I'm always dealing with it, and I'm just like, okay, is this menu going to work with me today? Is it not going to work? Are they going to have stuff set up?
Yeah, it's you can't go that, like the Anchorman Sex Panther ratio. You can't have it work 60% of the time every time.
Yeah, it works 60% of the time every time.
Oh yeah. We don't need that, but it's just, again, we're not bashing bands that use tracks. There's some bands that use tracks and they put on some fantastic live shows. It all depends upon what's going to be best for your band, your group, your live performance, however you want to maximize out on that. And I think especially a lot of things that you've gone through with Ravens Banquet over the past couple of years, not only with Rocklahoma, not only with getting your music out there, but also the things you've learned and what we've talked about. There are so many things that so many younger bands, especially upcoming bands that might be in their local scenes or getting out to be more of those state touring acts or regional touring acts, can really start to get an understanding of like what's some of the best practices in order to continue to grow, but also have a quality behind everything you do, whether it's, the music that you create, the live shows you put on, the content that you produce outside of it, because we all know how big the internet is. We all know content is king. Every single day, social media becomes much, much more of an influence in our lives. I mean, you think about 10 years ago, it was still a huge influence in 2015, but nowhere near to the level that it is in 2025, especially because in 2015, we didn't have, our short form video was 6-second vines. Now in 2025, it's short form video is king, and people don't even want to watch a video if it's over 3 minutes long. It's insane. So you always have to figure out what that game is and put your own individual spin on it, but the quality always has to be at the forefront of that thing that you're doing, so that you're putting the best foot forward and you're putting the best opportunity for your music and your band overall to then end up getting to the goals that you want it to get to. I'm not going to say succeed, because your level of success could be different, and what you see as success, whether it's become the biggest band in the world, become self-sustained with your music, just having fun. Your level of success could be very different, but get to those goals that you want to get to. Again, following these ideas, it'll take time, but that's the nature of it. And you're going to get good if you take the time to do it like you guys have.
Yeah, you got to take the time, and then you have to learn from your mistakes, and you got to learn when to put your pride aside. And it's like, yeah, maybe you don't want to do that show. And it's another thing that you got to think about when you're up and coming and you're starting to get stuff done, is that show might not be the greatest. You might not earlier, might not like the bands, you might not like this, but the show might help you get somewhere, you know, and you don't want to just take a bunch of shows, because then you're just taking a bunch of shows to take a bunch of shows. And then and it's, if you're providing yourself too much, then somebody's going to go, oh, I can just see them next week,
Yeah.
and then they're not going to want to come out to your show because you're playing too much. If you play too little, they'll just forget about you. And, short form content, you're off my screen now. I'm on to the next band. So you have to vary it up. You want to still, perform for the people that you want to perform with, but you don't want to do it too much, because then it's just going to get watered down. They know what the show is, and add upon the show. Always add like maybe a little bit of something different to a show. Vary it up a little bit. So, and that varying it up will keep people interested in what you're doing. And I think for me, the best advice I can give to any upcoming band. Obviously, we're still up and coming and still going. So I'm not saying that from like look, where I'm at. We're still learning. We're still learning from mistakes, and we're still learning things. Everybody's always learning stuff in this industry. If you're not, nobody just stops learning. You're always learning something new. You're always learning how to go and work with, especially with the internet, with everything that's been coming out. Using AI tools and all this other stuff. You're always learning, and I think that's the biggest thing, is being open-minded to learning what's going on and how to work with what's been given. If you don't learn how to work with what's been given, and you don't learn from your mistakes, you don't learn from anything, then you're not going to get any better. You're just going to stay where you are, and you're going to be questioning, well, why am I still here? I've done all this other work, but I can't get any further.
Makes a lot of sense. Well said, Chase. Well said. Well, I got two more questions for you before we can wrap this up. My first thing is this. Well, we talked about a lot of things you've been through, talked about a lot of things you experienced, and just other tips and tricks that a lot of these younger bands can use to help, not only gain success, but also get an understanding of where things get better. You guys are going into 2025, and it seems like you're going in there strong. What can we expect from Ravens Banquet in 2025?
You can expect us to do some more traveling. We're going to start going to several out-of-state shows. We've already got booked that I'll be announcing soon. We're going to probably start putting out some more merch, some newer merch, maybe something a little extreme, just for you. Maybe I got to start looking. I got to start trying to find something. I got to start trying to find stuff, but we're going to up everything, the performance, the sound, the music. We're gonna improve upon what we've already laid out, because we're not gonna want to just stay at this level. We want to get even better. We want to do it for ourselves. We want to do it for the fans that have seen us and come out, to support us and supported us for the past 2 years. We owe it to everybody to get even better. Thankfully, from everybody, they've pushed us to where we're at and helped us get to where we are today. And I want to do it for them. I want to do it for everybody that's supported us and put in the effort to help us get where we're at.
We need in 2025, we need a Ravens Banquet shirt. Just add some merch to it, but have it be the most literal shirt possible. Just have a bunch of Ravens sitting around a table eating.
Yeah, no, that's we've thought about that before. I think that's been one of the ideas that we've thought about. I know for Thanksgiving is I posted a picture of a raven eating a turkey, and so a friend of ours commented, literally Ravens Banquet, and what was funny is I never even thought about it until he said that. I just was like, oh, it's a raven eating a turkey, it's Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
And he's like, it's literally a raven at a banquet. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to make something out of that. Maybe some stickers or something.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes some of the weirdest stuff can be the hottest selling ideas. So definitely give it a shot if you can. And I got one more question before we wrap this up, Chase. Something that I've been asking for over a year and a half now. Is something I like to ask every band I now bring on the podcast as a way for us to get to know more new music, but also a way for you to get support the music that you love. I got to limit it to a number, so I'm going to ask you for 3 of these. Can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
So there's a lot for me. There's so many different bands, especially major bands, but I'm gonna narrow it down to obviously 3 that I think are really good that may not be as well known.
That's what I'm looking for, man. That's what I'm looking for.
So one of the bands that I recently got into several years ago is called the Post-War, and I think they're up from like Northwest, like maybe from Washington or somewhere around that area. And the singer of that band is like a mix between Chris Cornell and Mark Lanigan, and he's got an amazing voice. I haven't heard anybody sound like Chris Cornell and or Mark Lanigan in a long time. So to have somebody that kind of can go back and forth between that, and then and he'll sing some songs where he sounds exactly like those, or he'll sing another song and he doesn't sound like them and he sounds like himself, more completely different. And that's definitely a band I would like to more people to check out. And I think are working on new material right now, and they're starting to tease stuff. They actually teased something maybe an hour and a half ago, prior to us. Like they hadn't posted
that's
since
funny.
May. And but they're definitely a band that I love, and it's a lot more kind of spatial music and very open and melodic. Another band that I know has a little bit of traction already is Crowbot. I know they were on tour with Guara. I never got to see them. I've been wanting to see them. I know that guy puts on a great performance. I've seen videos of him, and he's singing on top of his guitar player's back, like, pony riding him. I've seen some funny stuff from them, and but I've seen his showmanship looks awesome, and it's a great band, great songs like Golden, Low Life, Set You Free, and another band that I know of that I got into was I think it's pronounced Halicine, and what they do a lot of covers. They have multiple cover albums, and I think what set me with them was they did a cover of Never Too Late from 3 Days Grace.
Ooh.
And she sings that with so much power. It's like, the way that the whole aspect of the song is just perfect. Like this original version of it is good, and they actually made it sound even better than the original version. It's harder, it's more in your face, but then sits back during the verses and then comes back at you. The whole dynamic of the song is amazing. I've heard several of their covers that they've done. I think I just saw, even before I joined, that they had done Bullet with Butterfly Wings, and she was singing that one, and it's also another great cover that they've done. And if you're really into just hearing other versions of songs, or maybe you're like, oh well, I like the song, but maybe I want to hear a different version of it, please go check them out. They've got dozens upon dozens of covers that they've done, and they all sound great, and they're all just amazing.
Those are some good picks, man. I gotta thank you for that. And when you said that was a cover, and you said Never, and you stopped, I'm like, is it gonna be Never Gonna Give You Up that they did? Because that would be something.
I'm not sure they've done that. I'll go take a look maybe after this and see if they've done it. But I wouldn't put it past them.
Maybe I'll have to go on Spotify and record my own version and make people listen to it, which would not go very well, because I don't think anyone wants to listen to Never Gonna Give You Up. Because I can't sing Worth a Damn, so.
If it's any consolation, like half the time I don't think I can. But I mean, that's something that I had to work my way into, and I had to push through, because when I remember I'll go back and I'll see videos of us when we were in as quarantine, and we were playing in front of our high school friends, and I hear my voice singing Seven Nation Army. I'm like, oh God, can that video get deleted? I hate it so much.
Oh, don't worry. There's times when I have to when I go back through every single episode, to get all my notes down for it, to create all the extra stuff I do for it. I'll listen through, and I'm listening to my own voice. I'm like, God, I sound like a moron, or God, I can't believe the way I sound. Then I hear people like, oh my God, you got a great voice for this. I'm like, who paid you off, man?
Who paid you to say that?
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels at times, but it is what it is. And now I still enjoy it. So, you know what? We're just going to keep rolling with this. You keep rolling with Ravens Banquet, and we're going to have a good time in 2025. But on that note, I do want to thank you for being on the podcast, Chase. I'm going to end this episode with 3 specific things. First things first, when it comes to Ravens Banquet, when it comes to the new music they're going to be working on, and when it comes to more shows that are going to be coming to your area, please go to the description of the podcast down below where it says Find Ravens Banquet Online. Links and labels for all social media, where you can find them online, where you can find them their tours, where you can go and stream their music, is all going to be down there for you. So I'm doing all the research. I'm your own personal Google on this. Do not let me down. Go and follow them. I'm doing all the work. All you have to do is do 2 clicks and you are there. So do it. Now it's time for number 2. Chase, whenever guest on the podcast, I enjoy being the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise as a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish you continue to support the band in the future. And this is how we're doing this. It is not an if. It is a when. This implies this is going to happen. We just need to find a day or time. But when I get to see you perform live for the first time, I will come and find you. I will come and say hello to you. But the real promise is, first round's on me.
Awesome, man. Awesome, dude. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I wish I could have gotten everybody else here, but just everybody's off doing their own thing. But I appreciate you having me on the podcast. It's been such a good time, dude. I've been enjoying the whole conversation.
Having everybody here. How about that's for next time?
Yeah, dude. I can't wait till next time when we talk. So we'll probably have a lot more stuff to talk about. I'll have a lot more going on.
A lot more music, a lot more stuff to talk about. We'll make that happen. I know I'll end up hearing back from you guys. So then now it's time to end this podcast number 3 by saying I cannot end this by saying goodbye. That is way too final. We already made a promise to you to make sure we see you play live, and I'm not going to go back on that promise. And, well, we said the next time the rest of the band has to show up, so you're going to come back, right? I mean...
Oh, I'll come back. I'll make sure we come back.
Absolutely. So this cannot be goodbye. That is way too final. So we're going to end this by saying, I'll see you later.
I'll see you later, man. Take care.
Woo! Well, folks, my interview with Chase from the band Ravens Banquet, and now it is time for Kevin's final thought. When I think about my final thought for this one, I really like the fact that Chase took a lot of time to really discuss a lot of these things in detail from his perspective about how quality is the most important thing, but it depends upon what you're focusing on in quality at that given time. Yes, the music quality is going to be the most important thing of all, because if you don't have a high quality and substance of music, then it's not going to be anything that people are going to want to check out. But you got to think about the live show too. If your music is good, but your live show elicits a lot more to be desired, then people aren't going to come out and go and want to see it over and over again. People are going to want to come and experience a brand new show from you guys. They're going to just be like, I saw it once, it was whatever, and they're just going to end up passing on it. Again, you have to find a way to make a quality that's going to fit with your image, your style, and what you want to do. Same thing with how you promote it online. It's a whole new ball game compared to even 10 years ago. Compared to even 5 years ago before the pandemic hit. It's a whole different aspect. It's a whole different thing. And the more that you realize it's like, of course, yes, the time and the work has to be put into there. But if you're not putting in that full work, I mean, then what's the point? You got to find a way to, learn every day. That's not just with your band or anything. That's with this podcast. Well, I got to learn every day. That's with your job. You got to learn every day. It's with yourself as a human being. You got to learn every day. So keep learning, keep your head on a swivel, and keep enjoying. I want to thank Chase for being on the podcast. Remember to find Ravens Banquet by going straight from the podcast below. All links will be there for social media where you can stream music. You can find them online where you can go see and play live. Be sure to follow along with us at the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links in the description of the podcast below. Be sure to subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right down here on YouTube. Hit the follow button, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Hit the like button on this episode to help push the episode in the algorithm. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank Chase for being on the podcast. And that's going to be for me, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin. And you guys know how I end every single one. It's absolute big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.